And here we go. I'm going to try to get this done before rush hour begins. I think you can hear me pretty good because I got the microphone right there. Today I'm going to talk about something I want to talk about. It's not really relevant to the Pflugerville area. It's relevant to you and to me. The credibility in particular, especially of our medical community and of our scientific community. Well, the scientific communities, they're up there with me on this subject. So today's subject is prions or prions. You may pronounce it either way you wish. I actually prefer prions. Yesterday, I actually wanted to do this video last night, except there was a little rain problem and a little bit of sleepiness problem. Yesterday, I watched a video that was narrated by the ever so English and British, I am so fucking smart, Simon Whistler, who's bombed on every science channel that I've already blocked and stuff. Please, you have to really know a lot of the ins and outs of science before you can judge or trust anything that these science channels on YouTube present. This particular video is about the fact that, or at least to bring you up to date and give you a summary of a subject that has been studied now for over 60 years. And they call them now these misfolding proteins or whatever. But I'm talking about prions or prions, the alleged cause of, I'm going to hopefully try to explain that these things sometimes can just happen. You know, this is what happens. I should state it right here, right now, is that we're down to the atomic level in our biomedical observations. And there are still so many things that absolutely we have no idea what the cause of action, the mechanism is. It seems to be divine at times. So let me get on with talking about something that I've followed off and on for decades, because it pops up every now and then and nobody really knows why. And they keep trying to blame an infectious agent. That's been ruled out. It's not DNA. But I'm talking about what they call these prions or prions that are supposed to be responsible for, bovine spongiform encephalitis. I know they prefer encephalitis, encephalopathy. Those are both acceptable. Please, when you're dealing with me, you're dealing with somebody who's going to tend to pronounce it correctly and not the PhD types that like to have their own special language. So my point is that, 20 years ago, 20 years ago, I read the review and all the citations that was up to date, and it was being pushed by, and it was a commentary upon, there's still really only one person, which Simon Whistler mentioned his name during that video. There's really only one person on this planet that still pushes and claims that prions, I'm going to pronounce it my way, which is the correct, prions exist. His name is Stanley Priestner, Pruinsner, San Francisco State University, has been for decades, his entire professional career has been working on and claiming and getting paid money to pursue these things that we actually have more evidence. That was really the last round of research, is that we have more evidence that they don't exist than they do exist. One of the first studies, the first study done on prions was a nucleotide study, never been replicated. There hasn't been a single study replicated in all of the history of the study of prions. These are supposed to be the cause of so many diseases, particularly neurological and stuff. And I hate having to do this, having to relight my cigarette right in the middle of, because I really haven't mastered that pause and restart thing. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that there were at least 15,000 English speaking people who watched that video and gave it a like. And I'm going, and some of these people even had undergrad education. I'm going, like, how stupid are you? And one of the reasons I'm bringing this up too is to show you how much the media, you know, you've heard the media state and talk about prions, as if they're a proven fact that they exist. No, they don't. You've heard it on the evening news. You've seen it in shows like X-Files. There's dozens of times where they talk about them like there's some proof that they exist. It's 60 years now. There's absolutely no proof. No study has been replicated. There's absolutely no proof of any sort of infectious agent or transmissible agent. And even when they mixed, domesticated and wild, members of the same species together, there appears to be no DNA connection. It's completely unknown and unproven. And for scientific people and for the media to keep insisting in their movies and in their TVs and all shows and crap like that, to keep insisting that these things exist, and they can't be killed by radiation, they can't be killed. God, it's so ridiculous. Some of the biggest proof that they don't exist was they took, in a pretty large scale study, they took wild populations and domesticated populations of the same species that had it, one group or the other, then mixed them together, as I recall, allowed them to even reproduce, all that stuff. And no, there was no transmission of these misfolding proteins. So once again, I state that this is one of these things that you have to learn to accept in biology and biomedical research, which is what I am. I'm a theoretical biochemist and biomedical researcher. That's what I do really best. I figure things out. I read what everybody has to say, and then I decide what's the truth. And I'm pretty good at, I can smell it a mile away. And so, once again, they keep hiring the silent whistler on these various science shows, and every time he pops up, and this is not the first time that he's claimed for some science channel or some, and this channel isn't doing well, that he's recently been employed by. I doubt he got $500 for that one narration. They're just not doing well. Let me repeat again. This will be the final. We can observe your biology down to the atom. And there's still so many bizarre things that happen for which we cannot figure out, in which there's no DNA, there's no protein, there's nothing that's controlling that action. And that's what I assert here, is that these anomalies that we see that pop up as bovine spongiform encephalopathy and all these other things, wasting disease and wild populations of deer, moose, stuff like that, Yakov, the Creutzfeldt disease, all these other things. I don't think there's a genetic marker, not to my knowledge, that I can recall at this moment. I don't think there's a genetic marker. It may run in the family, but that's still not proof of anything. Just like it'll run in a wild population of deer and then won't transfer to a domesticated population of deer. Sometimes you have to just accept that we're not going to be able to explain everything, and to go around lying and claiming that these, that prions exist is just like the height of dishonesty, of just fraudulent behavior. You know, when you can actually get up there, if you've actually read the literature, and you can get up there in front of a camera and claim that it's that they exist, you're a fraud. Simon Whistler, you're a fraud. Of course, the media is a fraud. They'll throw up any kind of scare tactic and stuff like that. But I'm trying to let you know right now that there is no known, and there's more proof that they don't exist as any sort of transmissible infectious agent or genetic, DNA. There's just no proof. It's been 60 years. There's still no proof that prions or prions exist. Please stop claiming and saying that they do. When you say that, I just immediately, quietly to myself, say, there's a fool who hasn't done their research. If you notice, really, I generally only talk about things that I've experienced in my life or that I've researched thoroughly. So that's it. 12 minutes, I'm out of here. There is no proof that prions exist. None whatsoever.